In this video, we're going to discuss if Franco Colapinto should go to the main Red Bull seat, should he get the opportunity to do so. A very complex decision, quite a risky move at this stage in his career. We're going to discuss whether or not he should do it and what my advice would be if he's going to go ahead with it. If you're interested in what my thoughts are, definitely keep watching. Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Martin and I'm a specialist technical coach and mentor for open formula drivers. In this video, we're going to discuss whether or not Franco should go, and if he does go, what he needs to be aware of. So the decision is totally up to him, but I just want to present like what would be the pros and cons of going or not going in this video and moving forward. Now, I guess the first thing to note and the elephant in the room is that this could be a career-ending decision. That seat next to Max Verstappen is a very hot seat, and we've seen not one, not two, not three, but potentially now 4 teammates ejected out of that seat into lower teams or completely finishing their careers altogether. So obviously we need to discuss those 4 cases and address what has happened in those 4 cases. So the first one would be Daniel Ricciardo. It was Daniel's team in a way. He was teammates to Sebastian Vettel beforehand, and then Max joined that team alongside Daniel. So this took a little bit longer than some of the other teammates, but eventually not only did Max get the upper hand in terms of lap time, but he also got the mental upper hand and he got the team more surrounded around him as well. He pretty much shifted the balance of that team to be focused on Daniel to now starting to be focused on Max. That put pressure on Daniel Ricciardo. He didn't like the way the team was going, and he thought to himself that I'm never going to be world champion in this team while Max is here. At one point, Max is just going to get more favoritism. He's just going to get the upper hand on me. He's got the edge on me mentally. He's very quick as well. The guy is just, he has the mentality of a champion and a lion, as we have discussed previously. So that was the situation with Daniel. Daniel left because he wanted #1 status and he wanted to be supported more in the team, and he didn't feel like he could get that at Red Bull with Max Verstappen in the seat next to him. So once Daniel left, Pierre Gasly was the next person in, and it goes without saying that Pierre was slightly underprepared for this. He didn't have the tools or the skills that he needed to be able to compete with Max. Max starts taking the car in a setup direction that only he likes, and he's got all of the engineers and aerodynamic team around him kind of working with him, whatever he wants. The aero engineers and trackside engineers are all pushing the setup in that direction. So Franco's going to have to hang on with that direction. And that's hard as well because you're fighting in someone's natural habitat. So if Max likes the car, for example, super pointy with a lot of front end, you know, it's extremely hard. Like Franco's going to have to adapt to that. He's going to have to move with that. And also then he's going to have to be able to compete with Max on those terms as well. It's not going to be straightforward if he's going to take that seat next to Max Verstappen. We saw what happened to Pierre Gasly in 2019. Alex Albon was next in 2019 to 2020, and he said a similar sort of thing. On the High Performance podcast, he talks about how underprepared he was, and if he had the opportunity to go back again, he would do things very differently, and he would work a lot more on his preparation, make sure he knew everything about the car and more about driving technique specifically, how to get the best out of himself and the car. So it was a little bit too premature for Alex at that point in his career. Again, Max made him look silly. Alex gets kicked out, and then we find him back in the Williams now in 2024. Lastly, look at the situation that Sergio Perez is in now. We see Max fighting for a world championship, making it into Q3, taking poles and wins, and we see Sergio struggling to get out of Q1 in 2024. So it's a massive contrast in performance. And what we're suspecting to happen is Sergio is going to be kicked out in place for Franco Colapinto. So that's kind of case in point, guys. Like, you know, Franco should be able to see here that that is a very, very, very challenging seat and could be a career-ending decision if he doesn't take the right steps and be as super prepared as possible moving into that seat into 2025. I like what Toto Wolff did with George Russell in the Williams. He left him there for 3 years. He gave him the opportunity there to make his mistakes, to learn, to grow, to show his talent and beat his teammate. And George did all of that and made it into Q3 on occasion. And what that meant was that when he did get the opportunity in a top team, he was ready for that seat and he could stay in that top team. Now you look at George Russell and he's beating Lewis Hamilton. He's the #1 driver at Mercedes now with Lewis leaving for Ferrari. everything's looking good. If the car comes good, he'll be the one ready to fight for a championship. And he's kind of built a stable career on stable platforms, stable knowledge, and stable foundations. If Franco moves now from the Williams, having, only a handful of races, into that Red Bull seat, there may be the question, has he built his career on stable foundations? Now, the safe option would be to stay and grow and, take your time. But sometimes you don't have that time. Sometimes these opportunities come up and you just have to take them as well. So Franco's self-belief is really going to be tested here. Number one, if he turns down this deal and he says, no, I prefer to wait and grow, he must have extreme self-belief that, number one, he's going to get another opportunity to be in Formula One. And number two, he's going to get another opportunity to go for a top team. So those are two big things that he must have a massive amount of self-belief in. Whereas if he does move to Red Bull, he also needs self-belief. He's going to need a self-belief that says, I can move here and I can do a better job than them. I believe in myself. I deserve to be in a top team and I will compete to be in a top team. So I think either way you look at it, Franco's going to need a massive amount of self-belief here, either to believe he's going to get another opportunity or to believe he's going to succeed in the Red Bull alongside Max Verstappen. Now, here's my advice, and here's where I'm going to give my recommendations moving forward for Franco. I think that, life is too short. Sometimes when these opportunities come up, you just have to go for them, and that's fine, but you're going to need a lot more than just self-belief. You're going to need a team. You're going to need to study. You're going to need to make sacrifice, and you're going to need to bring in additional people and additional support to help you so that you don't sink in that situation, but you start swimming straight away. It's not going to look good if you jump into that car and do not perform. Your reputation is heavily damaged. It's not long now before you're going to be back into maybe a lower team. It's just not good for your career if you want to be world champion. It's just going to be tough from that position. You need to go into that position extremely well prepared. So what does that mean and what does that look like? Well, it goes without saying you're going to need to bring in a few more specialist technical coaches and mentors with you. You're not going to need too much your physio. You're not going to need too much your PR person. You're not going to need too much your social media manager. You are going to need as many technical coaches and specialists who have your best interest at heart around you to help you navigate challenges and problems when you come up with them and put out those fires as you go. Because if you don't put out those fires immediately, they'll grow, and then your confidence will fall away, and then your self-belief will fall away, and it will be like, well, maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was. Bang, 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 bang. Before you know it, you're back out, you're back where you started, and your reputation has been significantly damaged. Now, look, I know Franco has an existing driver coach. His name is Lucas Benamo. He's obviously done a fantastic job to get Franco into this position. They've been together since karting, since the junior formula. Lucas is still with him today in Formula One. But when you go into the Red Bull seat alongside Max Verstappen, who likes the car a certain way, you're going to need to lift that up. You're going to need to bring more people in. You're going to need 2, 3, 4, 5 coaches if you want. And it's going to be as many people as you can to work with you and help push you in the right direction. Roger Federer is my childhood hero. You can see a picture of him down below there. He had 3 or 4 coaches with him at any one time. He had a coach with him dedicated to one shot, his backhand only. So he had Ivan Lubicic, Severin Luthi, Pierre, his fitness coach, and other coaches as well, just to help target different things. So my advice to Franco would be, whatever you want to do is fine. But if you want to take the opportunity, you need to do the preparation beforehand, and you need to make some sacrifices beforehand as well. It might be relationships, it might be social media, it might be the food you don't like to eat, it might be sleep. Like, you're going to need to make cuts. It might be the holidays. Things are going to have to take a back seat if you're going to take that seat alongside Max Verstappen. I would definitely recommend bringing in a specialist technical coach just to have in your corner, so that if things, you start to lose your way a little bit, you've got someone you can talk to, you can refer to, you can bounce ideas with, you can problem solve and dig yourself out of situations and start to compete for wins and championships like you believe you deserve you would be able to. Now, look, I'll be honest and say I would be open to taking the opportunity to work with Franco, but again, it needs to come from him. He's going to need to be the one to say, yes, I need to step up my game here. I can't go in with the existing tools that I have, because we've seen what's going to happen. It's going to pretty much damage and ruin your career. And if he does that, I think it will work out for him. I think he will be safe in the Red Bull seat. He will make it work. He will swim in that situation. He will take a bunch of wins. And then you never know what happens with Max if he leaves or whatever. Obviously, Max has spoken extensively that he's not the biggest fan of Formula One and he doesn't like all of the politics and he loves just going away and doing his sim racing as well. So yes, there are opportunities there, but I can't stress this enough. I cannot reiterate this enough. Franco will need to step up his existing team, existing intellectual team in terms of coaches and mentors, and just try to make it work in that situation. And if he doesn't, I fear for what the outcome would be. Guys, let me know your thoughts and questions in the comments section below. Do you think Franco should take this opportunity? If he does take this opportunity, what will he need to do to swim in that situation? Or do you think he should stay where he is, learn a little bit more, and then build a career from there, and his opportunity in a top team will come a few years later? Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.